All right, everyone, welcome to Neighbors Helping Neighbors podcast. I'm here with Mark, and you're going to hear this introduction probably one more time here because I've edited this so that we can throw this right at the beginning. We're talking about elections and election day with Afton, and we want to make sure that you have the proper information to go vote. So that is, you're going to hear me reference several times in the podcast about Brown Street next to the sheriff's office. That was the early voting location. And if you are voting in person on election day on December 2nd, that's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., you have to go look up your location that you should actually go vote physically. So you go to go vote Tennessee elections. You can just drop that in Google. It'll come right up for you. And then you go search my address and it'll let you know your physical place to go and pick the go on election day, not the early voting. Early voting is unfortunately done now. We can only use vote on election day now, and that will be the polling place to go to. So now we're actually going to get started with the podcast. Welcome, everyone. This is Neighbors Helping Neighbors. This is a podcast, a function of the Robertson County Democratic Party. I'm Andrew, and today I'm here with Mark, and we're talking everyone's favorite topic, a little bit of statistics today. But if you are a Democrat, they are very exciting statistics. We have, of course, the special election going on for Afton Bain, who is our candidate, and we're getting a lot of surprising voter turnout. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. Mark, you've been working on a project here. What have you been working on?
So I've just been looking through, looking at the primary election results and then comparing it to the demographic information of the county and just kind of other census information to kind of get a sense of where the county's at, where it's been going, and what it could mean for the upcoming general election.
Well, what have you been discovering?
Well, kind of for the basis of Robertson County, it's kind of interesting how in line Robertson County is with national trends, just shifted slightly to the right. We have the same general trends as the rest of the country. The higher education tends to favor Democrats. Younger voters tend to favor Democrats. It's just that as a whole, the county shifted slightly right from the nation. But I do think it has a lot of kind of very optimistic movement for Democrats, especially related to the general.
So when you say it's shifted to the right, was that in the primaries? Is that where you're pulling that from? Or
that's just the general historical trends of the county.
Okay, so that's been over the past number of years.
Yeah, just like in every demographic in Robertson County, Republicans tend to overperform kind of the national average. And I think there is kind of, after the general, there could be a lot of interesting ways to explore why Robertson County trends that way, and what it could mean and what opportunities we have for Democrats for that.
And that's kind of what makes this exciting, because from what I've heard, that's kind of in this special election, that margin has really slimmed down quite a bit. It's not quite, I don't want to say reversed because we have not won yet, but there is a substantially less of a gap that there used to be. So that that trend of just going right for this special election, and from the last three big elections that we've seen across the country, those have massively shifted from going right.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what's really exciting right now, is because in the 2020 primaries for Robertson County, for the Democrats got 22,512 votes and Republicans got 31,871. But in this latest one, Republicans were at 36,000 and Democrats were at 31,000. So that margin has shifted significantly closer. So we're just seeing so much more movement towards Democratic candidates in this. And even though Republicans are still ahead, that margin closed significantly.
So we were looking at the Emerson College polling earlier, and that actually has Van Epps and Bain within 2 percentage points of one another. And so for me, that is incredible news.
Yeah.
2% that's not a lot, especially when you're talking about 30,000 votes. I mean, that's an incredibly small number of people that can actually swing this and close that 2% gap. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely true. I mean, we're not talking about a presidential election where individual votes matter very little in the broad scheme of things. In this local election, it legitimately could come down to within a couple hundred votes. Like just the people that would typically listen to this podcast could be the deciding number of votes for the entire district, not just like Robertson County going for Afton Bain, but for the entire district going. And that's such a winnable margin for us.
Right, right. So if you don't mind, kind of walk us through what data you've been pulling, and let's kind of dive into a little bit of the specifics on that, because there's a famous saying that goes, "There's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics," right? So we want to be kind of showing people that this is actually a winnable thing. What data have you been pulling?
Yeah, so I just pulled the data from the Robertson County Election Commission and then comparing it to U.S. Census data. So all of it's just public information that anyone can get. So if anyone wants to check my numbers, they're free to. But just the broad like percentage points, the point I was ultimately going to get at is that in 2025, the Democrats versus 2020, we had about 80% of the same turnout that we did from 2020, which was obviously a presidential election year, which had more focus on it. The Republican turnout compared to 2020 was only 57%. So 80% of Democrats have come out to vote in the primary versus only 57% of the Republicans. So there's definitely a lot more enthusiasm on the Democratic side, and there's significantly less enthusiasm on the Republican side, which if we roll those numbers, and this was just from the primary data, if we just rolled those numbers into the general, I was putting Afton Bain at only about 90% of Van Epps's votes, which would be way closer than any Democrat's ever been. And that's without the movement that we've seen post-primary, where she's gotten out and gotten a lot more attention, gotten a lot more focus. And then, as we said in the Emerson poll, closing the gap down to over 2%, to under 2%. So we're already seeing that much of a trend from the primaries to the general. And it gives us great hope that if that trend's continuing by election day, that it could very well go to Afton.
Yeah. So I think this is a really exciting time, and really kind of the whole why we're doing this podcast is to try to convince those people who have not voted for Afton so far in early voting. Early voting in Robertson County is now closed. We have one more opportunity, one last day, December 2nd. The polls are open. That is everyone's last chance to go vote in this special election now, if you're in Robertson County. And so essentially, perhaps 20% of our Democratic voters, registered Democratic voters, we're not even talking about people that may just vote Democrat this one, but our registered Democratic voters that we know of haven't voted yet. And they could.
Yeah.
And if there's a 2% difference between Van Epps and Afton right now, and we can still hit them with a 20%, that's huge. And this really is kind of one of those situations where Van Epps has been really quiet, kind of in the background, and there really is kind of a striking range for Afton, who's been doing a lot of grassroots canvassing and telephone calls and in-person stuff, going around the communities, mail-in stuff. We're trying to do things with the podcast. And so if you're listening to this and you have not voted, we absolutely need your vote, because we're 2%. 2% is, I mean, there's never been a great chance to flip this seat until right now. And there might not be a great chance again for who knows how long.
Yeah, I would fully agree. I think that's one reason that the Van Epps campaign has been doing kind of a poor job, is it's not a district that Republicans are used to having to fight for. And I think, kind of going on a bit of a tangent, I think what does make me excited is that the amount of gerrymandering that has happened in this district is almost offensive because I think people sometimes underestimate what damage gerrymandering does. It's not just about we're Democrats, we want Democrats to win, and it's not fair. It's about that gerrymandering hurts the representation that everyone receives. And if you're a strong Republican voter, if you live in a district that is that heavily skewed, it's traditionally been 20 to 25 points in favor of Republicans, just how they've carved it up. It means that you're not getting the representation you need because it's a safe seat for them. Van Epps, if he wins this, he's likely going to be the incumbent for a long time. And that means that he doesn't have to come back here. He doesn't have to face the voters because he's just going to win. And it's just the danger of gerrymandering. It means you don't get representation because there's no threat to their position. So I think that's one reason that this election is so exciting, because this can actually put fear into Republicans if it's close. And if Afton wins, Afton is going to be much more beholden to this district than Van Epps ever will be, because frankly, Afton Bain is going to have a weak position. She's going to have to continue campaigning. She's going to have to continue coming back to the district. She's going to have to continue fighting for the district because it's not safe for her. And it's been so safe for Republicans, they've never had to care about the district. They've never had to put any effort into it.
Right, right. I think there's a million and one reasons if you're a Democrat to vote for a Democrat right now. But if you're, on the fence about who you're going to vote for, I think that's a fantastic reason right there. Afton is going to have to fight for her constituents every single day in order to maintain this seat. I've never thought about gerrymandering in a positive way at all. I guess that's one thing that could actually be seen as a positive out of all of the gerrymandering that did happen.
It's only if you can flip the seat. If you can flip the seat. But that's why all of the seats and districts in Tennessee, even the one strongly Democrat district in Tennessee, is still plus 25 Democrat. So you have all of these seats that are so strongly partisan that none of them have to actually care or come back to their districts. And that's what we have to change. And that's why we have to flip this election so that we can have a congressman that actually has to care.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think let me, before I forget to do this, we're going to do this a couple of times. December 2nd, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That is when the polls are open. If you're here in Robertson County, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's when you can vote.
And historically, it's been pretty fast for me. I've never really had to wait too long for these elections.
Right.
So, I mean, if you can do it during your lunch break or just make some time, it shouldn't take much of your day.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone's off of school.
Yeah.
It is a recognized election, and people will hopefully be able to make it out there and do the voting thing, and hopefully they can go early, make a plan just in case something goes a little wrong a couple of hours late. But the point is that we need every vote that we can get. But this is such an exciting time for Democrats because there's been kind of unprecedented wins for the Democrats, and we are hopefully riding those coattails with the momentum, really. And so we had Zoran Mamdani up in New York. He won as mayor, and we had the Virginia governorship go Democrat as well. And then in Mississippi, the state supermajority for the Republicans was actually broken. So the Mississippi Republican supermajority was broken, you guys. If they can do it, in one of the reddest places, we can do this here. This is an actual thing. What were you going to say there?
No, I think that's just, it's not just, because obviously we knew that a Democrat essentially was going to win in New York, but we're having wins even in traditionally very red areas. And I do think even the broad amount of wins like Mamdani and then the Mississippi elections, they show such a strong broad coalition of Democrats and how Democratic messaging can work everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's something that is winnable here.
Absolutely. So you had some statistics as well, kind of breaking down the districts. So there's 12 voting districts inside of Robertson County, and you've pulled some numbers about previous voting from our previous elections, and you have some data that's from the primary as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
About the voting districts, which is our strongest voting district inside of Robertson County.
Oh, it would be the 12th district by far.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a statistical outlier, it actually makes it impossible to chart because any chart just has District 12 way up there and the rest of them down kind of low.
Yeah.
It's the only one that actually went more in favor of Democrats than Republicans in Robertson County during the primary, as
Gotcha.
far as overall voter turnout.
And that's what area is that? That's just
That is just to the kind of the west side of Springfield.
yeah, Rose
Uh,
Hill kind of
yeah, yeah.
area of Springfield. So shout out to District 12 for
Hmm.
coming out and voting massively.
Hmm.
And so if you're in District 12, thank you so much. And I'm willing to bet that most of them have gotten out and voted. If you're in District 12, it seems like they're very heavy on getting out to vote and early vote. Um, Everywhere else
Yeah.
outside of kind of the west side of Springfield could encompass that 20% of Democrats, of registered
Hmm.
Democrats that haven't voted yet, and people who might not be registered but feel compelled to vote in this election with everything going
Yeah, I
on.
mean, we'll take votes from independents. We'll take votes from Republicans. Just whoever wants to vote for Afton.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, let's see, just for kind of finality's sake, I'd be interested to see if you could find that one number that you were looking for about the where you got your 80% difference that you were talking about earlier. But if you can't,
Yeah, that's
no
just the
worries.
overall vote from this last primary. Because obviously, this last primary, it is a special election, so it kind of the turnout's going to skew a little lower just because there's not as much national attention on it versus the 2020. So I don't think
Sure,
we should read too far into saying that only 80% of Democrats voted in this special primary versus the general. So that's actually a
sure,
fantastic turnout for a special election in an off year. That's just by itself.
sure.
Like 80% is actually pretty exceptional. The 57% on the Republican side, that's actually more in line. And I think it kind of shows kind of the lack of enthusiasm on the Republican side. Is
So historically, I guess what we have to watch out for is Democrats have historically been early voters
Mhm.
and Republicans have been day of voters. And so if we're talking about 50-ish% of them have come out, and that there's still potentially another 50% that could ish vote on election day, that would be painful.
Well, that was I probably wasn't didn't preface that enough. That was the voter turnout for the special in general. So this isn't the what's turned out so far for the general.
Right, we don't
Uh,
have those numbers
yeah.
quite yet. They're going to start rolling in after
Yeah.
close on December 2nd, and I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to take. I mean, they've got to tally up all the votes, but
Yeah, I think it'll be relatively quick. I expect we'll probably have an answer by election night. But it's going to depend. I mean, if it's close, it could drag out for a while.
right, right. And so I guess the major takeaway here that I'm interpreting is that we've got the numbers to be able to make this happen. This is a kind of a one-time opportunity to make this happen. Right now, the Republican voter turnout, based off of the data that you're pulling, has been relatively low and
Mhm.
will hopefully stay quite low. Seems like the enthusiasm for Van Epps has been a little subdued. He's just a straight Trump rubber stamp guy, right? Like he just does whatever they're gonna ask him to do.
Yeah, I think that's a major part of it is Van Epps, I don't think he has very much broad appeal. Like, if you like Donald Trump, you like Van Epps, but everyone outside of that, there's just not much drawing you to Van Epps. Whereas this is such a good chance to flip a district and get someone in who actually cares that I think there's a lot of people who are unsatisfied with the kind of establishment that's kind of controlled Tennessee for so long that Afton Bain is an encouraging person to vote for just because it's something different from what's kind of controlled Tennessee politics for so long.
Right, right. So good opportunity here. And big momentum from the
Mhm.
Democratic Party, and we want everyone to feel like they're a part of that momentum. And we are actually, according to the Emerson College study, and everyone can go look this up. You just Google Emerson College, Afton Bain, and it pops right up that they've done polling, and they really do believe Afton and Van Epps are within 2 percentage points,
Yeah,
which
which
is
is
tiny.
and well within the margin of error for these polls.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, it could even be I mean, it could be completely neck and neck at this point.
Right. So anyone who has not voted, or if you think your friends have not gone out to vote, we absolutely need them to do that. So we've got some folks headed up to Clarksville tomorrow that are going to go canvassing. If you're in Clarksville, hopefully you get to join them or you get to see them. But this is really a true opportunity to flip this seat. I know we keep kind of harping on that, but it really is. I think it's so important because usually people in Tennessee feel like their vote doesn't
Mhm.
matter, and this time it does. It truly does matter. Every single vote is going to matter in this case. This really could come down to votes,
Yeah.
not hundreds of votes, not thousands of votes, but votes. I mean, this is so close.
Yeah, I mean, it legitimately could be within half a percentage point either way.
Right.
So I wouldn't want anyone to wake up the morning after the election and think, "Ooh, I really could have actually swayed this if I had gone out to vote."
Right.
Um,
Right.
because because it's going to be so close that I think you don't want to miss out on your chance to actually have, for once, an actual legitimate impact on who is going to represent you in Washington.
That's it. That's it. I was in. I voted in the alderman election. I believe this was a year ago, and in Greenbrier, and less than 100 people came out to vote in
Mhm.
that. And I was like, wow. And of course, difference is, it's a local election versus a big national election. But really, you look at those and you're like, wow. If you just motivated some people to go out and vote, like that election would have turned out completely differently,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I mean, that's within a few extended families worth of voters.
Right. And that's crazily
Mhm.
enough where we are actually at with this election, like you were just saying. This really is going to matter for every single person that wants to contribute. Your vote for once in Tennessee
Yeah.
absolutely counts.
Yep. No one in Tennessee has been voting in a district that's been less than probably 10 points in favor of one candidate or the other just through how it's been gerrymandered. So this is legitimately probably the first election that the majority of Tennessee voters maybe actually have a significant say in which way it goes, rather
Right.
than it just being politicians choosing the district that they want to have a safe seat in.
Sure. And so you've been doing a lot of research into the Robertson County side. Do you have any insight on the rest of the counties kind of in this whole gerrymander district? Because it goes all the way from the Kentucky line all the way down to the Alabama line.
Yeah, the general trends seem to be kind of the same. Rural counties have been performing more or less the same. Obviously, rural counties do favor Republicans quite a bit. And then it's the reason they cut up Nashville so much is that
Right.
Nashville, up in what was it, 2020? I forgot when they actually cut up the district. But that had been reliably Memphis and Nashville had been reliably Democratic seats, and then they
Right.
just split it in half
Right.
or a third.
Congressman Cooper,
Mhm.
yeah, essentially did not run for reelection at that point. He was our last
Yeah.
Democratic congressman from the Nashville area. And then, of course, once it got gerrymandered, it carved that up into three different sections. So that was kind of the end of a Democratic congressman there. So it's kind of incredible that Afton's doing what she's
Mhm.
doing in a truly gerrymandered district. And to me, that does mean that it's these rural counties coming out and actually voting blue
Yeah.
rather than just the folks who historically did vote blue just there in Nashville. So pretty incredible turn of events to be in this position.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the pretty much everywhere, even nationally, not just in the local area, has been shifting more towards Democrats. So we're seeing, I mean, there's positive movement essentially everywhere across the board. And it's just depend on if we can carry that through to the election win, which is going to require everybody getting out to vote.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's frustrating being a rural Democrat and being a Tennessee Democrat and everything from the state level all the way up through the national level through the presidency is all red. And so it really does matter to have some bipartisanship in Congress, and this vote, especially with being able to tie some things up in the House, matters quite just an enormous amount. And I think people recognize that, and I think that's driving a lot of this voter turnout that we're seeing. I mean, it's really unprecedented.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking about one vote mattering on an individual level here, but once Afton gets into Congress, one vote there has an even greater impact. So having Afton there is going to have an outsized influence on national politics just because of how close it is.
That's it. So, is there anything else that we need to talk about on that front? I feel like we've driven the point home that this matters so much down to an individual level. People's votes really do matter in this one, and if they want to have an impact at the national level, this is the opportunity to really do it. Pretty incredible time. Mark, thank you so much for doing all the research into this. I mean, that's an incredible amount of work. I'm looking at your papers here that the viewers cannot see, but there's lines and lines and lines of numbers here, folks. And so it's pretty incredible that you were able to pull that data and kind of correlate that from the primaries and kind of make projections as to what's potentially about to happen here. And again, we've got the Emerson College study showing very similar numbers here, that whether we're within two percentage points. So please, everyone, December 2nd, that is your last opportunity to get Afton into office, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Folks, thank you, Mark, so much for doing this and coming on. This is the Neighbors Helping Neighbors podcast, and everyone get out and vote. All right, I'm back here with Mark, and I was talking about the location for early voting, which is on Brown Street, and I'm sure that still is part of the overall place that you can go vote, but that is not the only place. And in fact, if you showed up just at that one place, that may not be your appropriate place to go. And so we wanted to make sure that you had all this information and that was clear for everyone. If you don't know your polling location, you go to Go Vote Tennessee elections. You can just Google that, Go Vote Tennessee elections, and it'll come right up for you, and you should be on the Go Vote Tennessee website. Looks just like that up at the top, Go Vote Tennessee. And then you go, search by address. You can type in your address and hit submit, and then make sure you go to the physical polling location for election day, not the early voting, which is what I was talking about. That's the one on Brown Street. That was the place. But there's a multitude of places that you can go on election day itself.
Yeah, just make sure you look up the one for your location. Just search for your voter information on that website, and it should point you to where you need to go.
That's it. All right. Well, thanks again, Mark, and hopefully that clears up everyone's concern there that they end up at the right location. So, Go Vote Tennessee, and find your location through the website. All right, everyone, take care.